Welcome to Talent Without Borders, the podcast where I'll celebrate the extraordinary creativity and resilience of international students in Canada. I'm your host Juan, and in this series, I'll share the inspiring stories of students, each one bringing their unique skills, dreams, and perspective. From overcoming the challenges of migration to thriving in their fields, these individuals are proof that talent knows no boundary. Join me as we dive into authentic conversations with these passionate students, exploring their journeys, their aspirations, and the positive impact they're making. This is Talent Without Borders, where the world meets opportunity. Hi guys, my name is Juan. Today I'm with
Leah,
Hi Leah, how are you doing? Thank you for being here.
thank you for having me. I'm great. I'm doing great.
And the first question that I want to ask is where do you come from and what do you choose to come to Canada?
I'm from the Philippines. I chose to come to Canada to study media communications at Humber Polytechnic. I wanted to upskill to learn more about the media industry.
And before you came to Canada, like did you do some research on the country or like what advantages do you think of?
Yeah, I did because I think it's part of the planning stage of coming here. Moving to another country like right across the globe, on the opposite side of the globe, it's pretty hard for me. So I had to research some stuff about how is it here in Toronto specifically, and would it be possible for us, my husband and I came here with my husband, to kind of like navigate the life here.
And after you arrived, like did the country meet your expectations like from what you researched or was it something that was different from what you thought of?
To be honest, no. We kind of put Canada, with Toronto specifically, in a pedestal in that sense because coming from a third world country, the Philippines, it's like when you're in a Northern American region or like a Western region, everything is positive. When we got here, we didn't have, I mean, the expectations that we had, not at all. Well, some part of it were true, but it's not what we were expecting. But nevertheless, I think it's still good. I mean, overall.
So how has been your experience in college so far?
So far, it has been great. I'm really happy that I get to experience all of this. And I'm really thankful that I get to know a lot of really good and talented people from the program. And I learned so much from them as well.
That's good. And with your background in the Philippines, what do you feel that unique background or culture added value to what you're doing here?
That's a good question. Filipinos are known for their warmth and caring nature, and I think that helped me so much to connect with people that I don't know. Back then, I was having a hard time approaching people, but as I grew older, I learned how to use that trait that I got from my culture to kind of expand my network, which is, I think, beneficial for me as I go along my journey here in Canada.
And you mentioned something about connecting with people, and Canada is a place where you have people from everywhere. So did that help when you come here, like to realize that, okay, there are more people that are similar to me, that this is not our country, this is not our home. So did that help you?
Yes. Personally, I like meeting new people. I like hearing their stories. I like having conversations about where they came from, their culture, what is it in them that makes them, them.
And how do you think that personality that you have, that you like connecting with people, how do you bring that from your personal life to maybe your work or academic work?
In academics, I think it's helpful for me whenever we have like group work, interact with people. I bring that to my academic work, most especially if there is a group work. I communicate with them and interact with my group mates.
And obviously coming to another country, it also takes time for you to get used to like a new life. And in that sense, like what challenges have you faced as an international student?
Oh, there are a lot. There are a lot. I mean, I can go on with saying the challenges, but one of it would be the climate. I came from a tropical country, a humid one. It's sticky and sweaty and everything. And coming here, it was a challenge because the cold, at first, I kind of expected that I can, but when the temperature like goes down to the negative, I think the first few months that we were here, I was really like freezing. That's one of the challenges. And next would be back home, we have an access to a car, a transportation. I mean, being in the Philippines, it will be beneficial if you have a car so that you can go from point A to point B. But here, although the transportation here is much, much better, but when you put together like the cold, snowy climate and then you go out and commute, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, and this winter particular that it was really hard. Like sometimes it's really hard to get to the bus station. So yeah, I get what you feel.
Yeah. I thought of another one. My language isn't like my first language isn't English. I mean, a lot of people would tell me that my English is really good, but still, there are some words that like my thought process is in my first language, which is Tagalog, and sometimes it's hard for me to convey what I really wanted to say. I couldn't really sometimes I can really find the better translation of that to English, but I think I'm doing better with that.
No, I think your English is very good. And
Thank you.
it happened to me also because, for example, my first name is one of the most common names like in Latin America. And sometimes it is a shock. Like I say my name, I expect people to know how to write it. And then I realize that they don't. So for me, it's like, okay, I need to be more mindful about this stuff. And with these challenges that you mentioned, and or when you're facing like moments of uncertainty, how do you approach those challenges?
To be honest, I think I'm not the right person to ask that because there are like a lot of moments for the first year that we're staying here. There are a lot of moments that I just, crumble. And I thought I couldn't make it, but thankfully I have my husband to support me in that sense. And I don't know, I just suck it up. Sometimes I just go on and do whatever it is that I have to do.
And like, what are the things that make you go forward? Like those things that when you do it, you feel like, okay, I can deal with this. I'm just going to move forward.
Good question. Probably it would be my passion and drive to create things in general. I wanted to put out my work, my artwork there, but not, well, in that sense, that's my ego talking it as if like I wanted to be known to that I do these things. But in that sense, I just wanted to create maybe the drive to create things and put my work out there. I cannot not create, I think.
You've been talking about work that you have created or that you like to create. And in that sense, I also wanted to ask you, and can you describe like a personal or professional achievement that you're especially proud of since you arrived here in Canada?
Since arriving in Canada, I am proud to say that now I'm able to use Illustrator and be comfortable with that. Technical wise, I was really afraid of using those design programs. Back then, I just used Photoshop and Lightroom because my background is photography, so it's only natural for me to use those two. But it has been a long time that I really wanted to go in depth into design. And so far, I've been learning a lot from our professors on how to use these programs so that I can maximize the skills that I've been learning.
And with all this that you're learning, how do you think that that is going to help you after you graduate? Like, what do you want to do with those skills to improve the work that you've done?
That's a good question because, well, that is my goal, one of my goals coming here is to learn. I mentioned this earlier. With all the stuff that I've learned so far, I can say that I am comfortable and confident enough to finish design tasks specifically. And whichever job that I land after graduation, I'm confident that I can do it good.
And for all of those people that want to come to Canada to study, like what would you be your message to them? Like what would you recommend them to do before coming to the country?
Oh, that's a good question. Be prepared and have a lot of courage and mental toughness because that really help you go about the life here. It's not easy.
Also related to that, like what's one thing that you wish more Canadians knew about international students and the value that they can bring to the country?
I haven't thought about that. I think because international students came from different backgrounds and different lives and cultures, after graduating, it would greatly benefit the Canadian workforce in that sense because the minds of these international students, whether you are pursuing something creative or you are in healthcare, the minds of these international students are really great. I couldn't find like a better word for that, but since the international students came from different backgrounds and cultures and they have different lives, they experience different lives from back home.
And now that you talk about how do you want Canadians to know international students, I want to ask you what impact do you hope to have in the industry or the community that you're part of here in Canada?
My impact that I would like to have in my industry and my community, I like to believe that I create work that has depth. Really try my best to be as authentic as I can be because that's how I am. So the impact that I would like to bring would be to be honest with who I am or whatever I'm working with, whether I'm developing a visual brand identity for a company. I like to get to the nitty gritty of it. I want to know who's the brand and not just create it's one thing that you create an aesthetically pleasing work, but it's another thing when you really get to know who is that you're working with.
I think that you're on the right track. Like you seem to know what you want and you're being honest with yourself in terms of how you approach life or your work. So thank you very much for being here and for sharing your story.
Thank you, Juan. Glad to be here.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Talent Without Borders. I hope you enjoy hearing the incredible stories of international students who are shaping their future and making a positive impact in Canada. If you're inspired by the journey, be sure to follow along with the project for more stories and insight. You can listen to the full podcast series on YouTube, and for more details, head over to the dedicated project page on my portfolio. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it with others and spread the word about the amazing talent from all around the world. Stay connected, stay inspired, and keep supporting the creativity and aspirations of students everywhere. I'm Juan, and until next time.